In today's video, we are talking about how to make your first $100,000 selling real estate. So now you clicked on this video, first and foremost, I already feel like you did step one. You are looking for information and it seems like you have a pretty awesome commitment to learning how to make your first $100,000 selling real estate. My name is Henry Eisenstein. I've been with EXP Realty for a little bit. I've been selling real estate for almost 6 years now, and I'm making over $100,000 a month selling real estate. Last year we did about $825,000 worth of GCI. This year we're on track to do about $1.5 million. First and foremost, it comes from just understanding how to make your first $100,000 so that you can learn how to scale it. So I want to dive right into it, and I'm sure you've watched quite a few of these videos, and a lot of them are about making a commitment and building a plan and all these other little things that are great, but I want to be super tactical like you've never heard before. So yes, step one is make the commitment. Make the decision to be successful. A lot of us want to make a lot of money. A lot of us want to be successful, but a lot of us don't do the work. A lot of us don't work on the mindset all the time. So when it comes to making the commitment, think about a person performing at their highest levels, because business is a sport. This is our sport. This is now your sport. You have to think like a professional right now. You got to think like one of the highest level performing athletes and what they do on a daily basis. If you don't want to make 100 grand, that's perfectly fine. This video is probably not for you if you don't want to raise your level of commitment, because it definitely starts with that. It means showing up at the office earlier than anybody else, staying later than anybody else for a little while, right? Because while you're building your business, you're going to have to make a sacrifice of some time or some aspect of your life, especially if you're going to want to learn how to make a lot of money. It starts with making the commitment and being okay with the sacrifices, putting in the work, right? And we'll dive into that at the very end, but you got to realize that it's about making that mental decision that I'm going to make it or I'm going to die trying. That's number one. Now, number two, yes, you have to make a game plan. But let's dive into it a little bit more. What does it actually look like to have a game plan, a business plan? You're right at the top of the page. $100,000 in income. And then the actions and strategies that you need to be putting in place, the three main objectives that you need to be putting down in place, right, over the course of the 12 months or whatever period of time you want to make your 100 grand. And then you're going to have three separate action plans underneath that of how to achieve it. Number one being you personally, your mindset, which comes with making that commitment. That's number one. Number two in the business plan is focusing on sales and lead generation, which we'll talk about. And number three of that business plan is going to be the operation systems that you can make them duplicatable, trackable, measurable, and all that jazz. To build a game plan, you put the goal at the top, and you're going to now build out, first thing is your mindset. What are you going to be doing on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, so on and so forth, that you're going to be working on your mindset and working on you, because your business will not outgrow you. So you have to grow faster than your business does mentally. Next, sales and lead generation. What lead generation strategies and tactics are you going to focus on? And if I could go back to the very beginning and get to this place that I'm at now faster, it would start with building my network, doubling down on my network, building out professional partners, referral partners, people who know me, like me, trust me, know how to refer me business, and are already starting to do so because I'm holding them accountable to doing it. If I was more focused back in the day, I would be kicking myself to make sure I build that network, because your network is your net worth. If you're at the very beginning of your career, I would be looking at making cold calls, expired cancels for sale by owner, circle prospecting, all really, really simple, easy stuff that really doesn't cost you a lot of money, but it's a great place to start. And if you're not focused on sales and lead generation, I assure you your $100,000 is never coming. And the last part is building systems and processes that are duplicatable, measurable, trackable. If you're at the very beginning of your career, stop worrying about having business cards and a website and this setup and that setup. You need to focus on the lead gen. And for a lot of you who are doing the lead gen, and you might only be doing a couple sales a year and haven't made your first 100 grand yet, it might be because your systems are broken. You don't have any systems. So you got to figure out exactly where you're at, because one of those two pieces is broken. And I would say focus 80% or plus of your time on the sales and lead generation and 20% or less on the systems and processes on the back end. I'm not saying they don't have to be done, but you need to focus more on the sales part. Now, number three, Grant Cardone, he's such a fanatic when it comes to this kind of stuff. And the one thing that he taught me more than anything else was know your numbers, do the math. If you want to make 100 grand, you need to know that that takes $8,334 a month in order to achieve $100,000. Now, as a real estate agent, a lot of what nobody talks about in this business is expenses, taxes, and the splits. So it's great to gross $100,000, but that doesn't mean that you're actually going to net and walk away with $100,000 in the bank. You got to figure out your goal, because if it's to make $100,000 gross, that's going to be a very, very different number than if you wanted to make $100,000 net after expenses, your splits, and taxes. So there's a very, very two different numbers, and you need to know that. You need to know the expenses you're gonna have. You're gonna have to know your average price point. If on average you just wanted to gross $100,000, and let's say your average commission check was $5,000 a closing, to make sure you ensure you're gonna hit your goal for grossing 100 grand, you're gonna have to do 2 closings a month, 24 transactions a year, but that's if you're only doing $5,000 per closing. It obviously depends on where you are in the country. Make sure you run your numbers, and it'll be extremely, extremely important for you to really make sure that when you're running your numbers, you run it on a higher estimate. You want to make sure you're conservative with your estimates. You don't want to make sure you're estimating lower. So do the math. Again, $8,334 a month. It makes you a gross $100,000 per year. That's not a net number. Do the math. How much money do you make per closing? How many properties do you need to close in order to make $100,000? Don't forget to add your splits, your expenses, and your taxes. Very important. Now, last point. Take massive levels of action. A lot of you are probably only working a few hours a day because this might be a part-time thing. And that's okay. But I'm talking to the people who really are 100% committed to doing the most amount of business they possibly can, or die trying. That's the kind of person that I had to become in order to see the results that I have today and the growth that we're having today. Massive levels of action. Let's talk about this. Build out a schedule, a powerful schedule of you making at least 2 to 3 hours worth of phone calls per day. Specifically, if you're at the very beginning of your career and you're not making 2 to 3 hours of phone calls per day, I do not know what you're doing with your time. Let me be blunt. I have no idea what you are doing with your time other than doing sales and lead generation activities, specifically if you're at the beginning of your career. You don't need your business cards. You don't need a website. You don't need a social media platform set up immediately. They definitely should be set up. You don't want to be a secret agent. But you need to be spending on things that make you money. And in the real estate world, that's either being in front of a client face-to-face, belly-to-belly, or on the phone with somebody who can make you money. And that can be with a client or a professional partner that you can eventually build a relationship with who can refer you business down the road. On top of that powerful schedule, if it's not making phone calls, or if it's not being face-to-face with somebody, that means that it probably can be delegated one day for $20 an hour or less. You have to do it outside of your hours or while you're multitasking, eating lunch or something. Because at the beginning of your career, so many agents specifically spend all their time doing things that are not money-making activities. On top of that, you can either be doing your cold calling, you got to be building your sphere, building your network. Like we talked about, your network is your net worth. Being face-to-face with your professional partners, people who can refer you business down the road. Massive levels of action. I'm not talking about the people who want to work 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week. Making 100 grand a year does not happen all willy-nilly. It takes time to do that. You need to be patiently aggressive with your timing, right? You need to be putting in the time, energy, and effort every single day. I work 80 to 100 hours a week, right? But that's because I want to be a multimillionaire. That's what it takes at my age. That's what it takes to be successful. You have to put in the time. If you only want to make 100 grand, that's awesome. It's a great starting point. But again, for anybody who wants to make that and has never made that before, just realize, and I've heard this a while ago, everyone has a financial thermostat. If you've never made $100,000 before, you need to realize you need to raise your thermostat level, raise your financial thermostat. What that actually means is if you're making 40 grand a year right now, or 50 or 60 or 70 grand a year right now, that's your financial thermostat. That means you should be able to, no matter where you go in life or whatever happens in life, you could always get back to your standard, right? That is your standard. But going to a new standard means that you have to grow. When I made my first 100 grand at 23 years old, I had to raise my standards because I'd never ever made that kind of money before, so I had to change. I was filling up my mind with great content, being around good people. And I knew that in order to make $1 million, I needed to be a different person. So I ended up, now that's why I doubled down on who I am as a person, the mindset, the strategies, mentally that I need to be implementing, how I hold myself, my leadership skills. Every single aspect of who you are will change so that your financial thermostat can go up, your standards will increase. That's why I'm trying to push that so much, because it starts with, it's 80% mindset, 20% actions and strategies. So last but not least, a lot of people, when they get into this business, they think it's going to happen immediately. They think that they're going to all of a sudden make $100,000 in the matter of the next 90 days, 12 months, whatever the case may be, and they do not change their work effort. They don't change their work ethic at all. And they just kind of wing it. By no means does that come easy. It's not easy. It is simple to make that kind of money. It's not, a myth. It's not like nobody's ever done it before. If you follow a game plan, you can achieve it. You just have to see what successful people are doing and implement it at a super high level. And the last part that I wanted to touch on was accountability. You need to have an accountability partner ASAP. AP, because it's not about just doing it yourself. I thought I could do it myself. It's just like going to the gym. For a lot of us, you're like, listen, you know, I mean, you're right, but we'll let ourselves off the hook before anybody else, right? We'll let ourselves off the hook. You need to find an accountability partner, someone who's not going to allow you to be let off the hook about making your phone calls, about building your business and building your network, about going on appointments every single week. If you have somebody who wants to build, like I want to help you build, right? If you have me in your corner 24/7, 365 as your coach, think about you know, how fast you can blow up, how fast you can scale. These are things like if you have somebody in your life, right? I've been blessed with some amazing people in my life where they're my accountability partners. When it comes to working out, making my phone calls, building my business, every aspect of my life, my relationships, every aspect of my life, these people are holding me accountable. And when you have somebody like that, 24/7, 365, it is very hard for you to lower your standards. You're only gonna go up, baby. If this video hit home, number one, I need you to smash the like button because I appreciate that. Number two, I need you to hit subscribe so I can constantly be pumping out content right into your inbox, so you can constantly be using me as a, you know, as a coach, as a mentor, somebody to help you along in this journey. And last but not least, do yourself a favor, get an accountability partner ASAP, and start going for it now. Make the decision today to go for it. Because the longer you put it off, the longer that goal, longer that dream, the longer that you're, you know, that vision you've always had for yourself is going to take in order to achieve. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been always a super fun one for me. I was looking forward to doing this one for a really long time. I appreciate you guys so very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.